David and Carolyn Payne. Brad and Lisa Compton, who just introduced me. And of course, the Cunninghams and our very own Leslie Wogan. Thank you so much. You know, this is very special to me because my very first function was a family reunion 6 years ago. And to be sitting in that crowd, just kind of taking everything in, and to be here 6 years later, and opening the function is something that I never would have possibly even imagined or dreamed, especially from where I came from. And just to tell you where I came from, because it's, you know, we all have humble beginnings. I was 22 at the time. I just turned 22. It was my birthday, and I was standing on the side of a busy street in handcuffs because I was just pulled over for drinking and driving. I was at the pinnacle of success at that time. And I was just, I was totally lost, you know. I was never a bad guy. I just always made poor choices, never saw a lot of, you know, great examples of success or anyone who's really achieving, and the ones that I did, their personal lives were just in distress. And I knew I didn't want that, but I knew I couldn't do that forever. And as I walked home from that precinct that night after having a great conversation with the detective or officer and going over all the poor decisions I was making in my life at that time, you know, I was thinking to myself, man, some way, somehow, I need to change. And I didn't know how. And I believe that, you know, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, but first the messenger needs to get him there to school. And his name was Eric Tanaka. And, you know, God gave him a plane ticket from Indonesia, sent him over here just for me. I'm really grateful for that. And he brought me here. And, you know, from being that 22-year-old guy on the side of the road in handcuffs to about a month or so later coming to my very first function. And it was at this function where I really saw for the very first time a vision for what I really wanted to have in my life and where I wanted to be. And, you know, I was never money-oriented, but I was very, you know, family and relationship-oriented. And I just saw the couples and what I really wanted out of the family life. And I saw that up here, but, you know, that was kind of where I started. That's how I got in. And, you know, I guess the biggest thing from there is you have to realize that your past doesn't dictate your future. You know, and I think too many times we just look back and think, man, our life is a total mess. How are we ever going to arrive? But you're here, and I'm just a testament to worldwide. You know, 6 years of what the system has done and what it'll do for the rest of my life, I can only just imagine. So always keep that in mind. And then I guess, you know, from there, the first couple of years in business for myself was a lot like a Rocky movie. You know, and have you ever seen a Rocky movie? You sit there and you just watch a guy get beat up for about 2 hours, and then somehow, some way, at the very end, he, you know, calls out his wife's name, and he kind of survives somehow, and you're scratching your head going, how? And then really that's what it was. You know, I struggled a lot. You know, I thought I could build this business without being core. I thought I could do it based on charisma, which is very hard to do when you don't have any charisma. And the biggest thing was just, you know, I never knew what it took to win, and I never knew what success was like, and, you know, I never really finished anything, so, you know, it was just very hard for me, and I never ever really truly believed that I could necessarily build anything, you know, because I never won. You know, Brad was out here today, and he had that trophy or something like that, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's like the first thing I've ever won. And I mean, it's very special, but thank you, okay. But, you know, I'm just sitting there thinking, man, you know, sitting in your spot, I didn't even know if I could get here, you know, or even just get on stage, you know, let alone Diamond or any other bigger pins out there. I never knew because I never accomplished anything. And just through the struggles of, you know, having girlfriends dump me and cars breaking down and multiple jobs and, you know, getting evicted, and believe me, I'm not here trying to, you know, feel sorry for me and because of all the marks on my underwear that I had to, you know, remove. But just to understand that, you know, I just, you know, I didn't do anything perfect. I just persevered. And what I realized was, you know, I didn't know if I could win, but it wasn't for winning. At that time for me, it was more about, man, I just want to go the distance. You know, I didn't know if I could win, but I was just saying to myself, man, you know what, I never finished anything. You know, I never really saw anything through. And I want to go the distance. Just so that I could prove to myself that I could. You know, I'm very envious sometimes when people are like, I'm up here and I'm doing this for my wife and my kids and all that stuff. And to be honest, I really didn't have anyone to build it for. And, you know, I don't want this to come across selfish, and I really hope you hear my heart on this, but, you know, I built this, you know, or at least in the early going, for me. Because I had to prove to myself that I could accomplish. that I could win. And how could I ever tell somebody else that they're a winner if I did not think that I myself was won first? And you know, sometimes that's what it just takes for us, guys. You know, and obviously today I built for different reasons, and I'm very excited about those. But, you know, just to understand that, this is absolutely one of the most amazing things that has actually ever happened to me. And you know, I'm so grateful for, you know, an entire, you know, upline of mentors and coaches who've been there at certain points in my life. You know, I have to give a huge thanks to Vlad Milik, who was like a wet nurse to me there for the first couple of years, always cleaning out after me. You had to ask somebody later in the break what that means in case you don't know. And he just, man, he just always helped me. Like, he always told me the truth, and I always respected that. You know, I like to think of him as a father figure, but he's obviously too young for that. So he's definitely a big brother to me. And I was just, you know, thinking of all the things that I've had to go through to really make this happen. And it's just amazing, man. You know, the stuff we go through, you know. And you get to come out on the other side. And I guess what I'm really trying to say is, you know, I think we make a big deal of all the stuff that really happens in our lives, and I know I certainly did. You know, every day I pick up the phone and say, "You never believe what happened to me." I didn't even say hello. I was very impolite back then. And so the story would go. And I think a lot of times, you know, especially for myself, it always felt like I was losing, and what I didn't realize is that I was being pruned. You know, I was having the junk of my life snipped off, whether it was poor relationships, poor association, you know, just a whole bunch of that stuff. Because in order for me to grow, in order for me to become who I was, I couldn't have all that stuff off. And you know, and it took a good 3 years. It took 3 years of coming to functions, of learning this business, before I even got to go an Eagle first time. And, you know, I never catch anything on for the first time. You know, it takes me a long, long time to really figure things out. And all the platinums in the back will definitely attest to that over this last week. But you know what the great thing is, guys, that it doesn't really matter, because at the end we all love you, we all hug you, and everyone believes in you, and it's the greatest thing. So, you know, just to kind of wrap up here, guys, you know, I remember just, you know, driving to work every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, crying. You know, big baby here, Canadian, expected, right? And I know we all have a favorite tape, a favorite CD, and mine was Dave and Jan 7 Rally, Diamond Rally, and I would play that last track over and over again, because it was in that track that I learned how to win, but most importantly, knowing that I was a winner all along. Because then he says, and I'll shorten it because of time, he says, "Give up, you're beaten, still they shout at me. But another voice from within me says, come on, get up and win your race." Thank you very much. Have a wonderful